Why is Israel bombing in Syria? You may have heard that jihadist Muslim militias backed by the new regime in Syria have been attacking the Druze community in the town of Suwayda. That's a town in the southern part of Syria near the borders of Jordan and Israel. Hundreds of Druze have been murdered, tortured, publicly humiliated. Right here on the screen, you'll see a video of Sheikh Marhad Shaheen, 80 years old, and here are these jihadist terrorists shaving his mustache, which in Druze culture is a form of humiliation. They're doing it in order to humiliate him, similar to what was done to Jews in the Holocaust, where Nazis would take rabbis and cut their beards off to humiliate them. Sheikh Shaheen, 80 years old, one of the leaders of the Druze community in Suwayda, was later murdered by these jihadist Muslims. Now, ever since the fall of the Assad regime, minorities in Syria have been under attack and have worried that situations like this would happen. They've been warning about this. The international media is trying to make this seem just like sectarian violence. You might see in some of the news stories that they're saying it's just some Bedouins and some Druze who are fighting between themselves. This is a lie. This is not true. Those attacking the Druze in Suwayda are backed by the regime. They are actually the army of the new Syrian Islamic regime. You'll see here in this clip uniformed members of the Syrian army going into Suwayda to attack Druze. Notice the ISIS flag on this soldier's uniform. This is exactly what we've been warning about. Like I said, ever since the fall of the Assad regime, we have been warning that these ISIS operatives, that's who took over Syria. This al-Julani Ashara guy wearing a suit with his nice trim beard is an alumnus of ISIS and al-Qaeda. He was al-Baghdadi's assistant. So why did Israel get involved? That's the question we started with. And that's the question that, everyone's asking. Why on earth is Israel bombing Damascus? Well, Israel has a substantial Druze population, a minority that lives up north in Israel. They are very patriotic Israeli citizens. They serve in elite combat units in the army. They are fully part of the fabric of Israeli life. And the Druze community in Israel, has been demanding that Israel get involved to defend the Druze community. Israel has vowed ever since the fall of the Assad regime to defend the Druze community in Syria. In fact, hundreds of Druze Israelis actually broke through the border fence and crossed over into Syria over the last few days in order to help their brethren. So the Israeli government has a domestic issue here as well. It's not just about Israel intervening in some conflict in a neighboring country. Israel is defending the Druze community because the Druze community in Syria and the Druze community in Israel are the same community. It's the same families. So Israel is actually trying to prevent a genocide from taking place. Now, apparently last night there was a ceasefire put in place, brokered by the Americans. We'll see where that goes. But in order to understand everything that's really going on, we have joining us now Mansour Ashkar, who is a member of the Druze community, grew up in Israel. His family is all over the region in Lebanon, Syria, Israel. Mansour, thank you for joining us here to help us make sense of the situation.
Thank you for having me, sir.
So, Mansour, give us the background. How did this whole thing start, and what is actually happening on the ground right now?
This whole thing started actually hundreds of years ago. See, Druze under Muslim occupation have suffered all the time, and the only place that they actually are free to practice their religion is Israel. All the other countries around, they need to hide their religion, they need to protect themselves, they're always under constant threat. When the Assad regime fell down, these Jawlani, Al-Qaeda militants, and right now the government, have made it a goal to ethnically cleanse Syria. Don't be mistaken, they've done that to the Alawites, they're doing that to the Christians, and now they're trying to do that to the Druze. That was their goal from the beginning, and it still is. Although he's looking like a hipster now and walking around hugging Macron and shaking hands with Trump and all these things, but he is a terrorist, he's a rapist, he's a murderer, he's a part of Al-Qaeda, part of ISIS, he executed people, he's a very bad person. Now, they've been looking for an excuse how to kill the Druze without the international community putting the sanctions back on them. So the excuse that they've been trying to portray is calling the Druze terrorists and saying that the Druze are refusing to lay down their weapons, and that's why the government needs to go and take the weapons from them. The Druze, on the other hand, were telling them, no, you guys are terrorists. We're not letting down our weapons. We saw what you did to the Christians and the Alawites. We know what you're going to do to us. You've done it to us in the past. There were cases where they kidnapped 27 Druze women, slaughtered a whole village, made them all force to convert to Islam or die, shave their beard. That happened in the past, and it's happening again. So the Druze said, we're not going to let down our weapon. We demand a democratical Syria. And there were many Muslims who agreed with that. The one that want peace in Syria said, we want a better country. We didn't give up Assad to have Jawlani, an ISIS, Al-Qaeda dictator, take it over. We want a better Syria. There is people in Syria that want that. So the Jawlani sent his proxies, the Islamist Bedouins living there, because Israel told them, stay away from southern Damascus. Don't come down with your tanks. We know who you are. You're maybe fooling Europe. You're not fooling us. If you come down, we take you out. So he was sending these militias backed by him to raid and kill and kidnap the Druze. The Druze fought them back, and then they said that is an excuse. Now is our chance. They just attacked, Muslims. We need to go and arrest them. So they send their tanks, their artilleries, their dushkas, drones that were purchased apparently by Qatar or Turkey, and they started systematically burning, killing, destroying villages, rounding up the men and the children, executing them, raping mothers in front of their daughters. We've heard all these stories. They just executed a whole hospital in Suwayda. They're cutting off the heads. They're shaving the beards of the sheikh. You mentioned the beards of the sheikh. The mustache in the Druze is a very strong symbol of the mashayikh, of our religious leaders. And there's something sinister about this jihadist movement that is very much like the Nazi movement, where they like to humiliate you before they kill you. And what they did with the Jews, where they grab a rabbi and they will publicly walk him in the streets, humiliate him, shave his beard, mock him, and then shoot him in the back of the head. The same thing they're doing to the Druze right now, publicly walking him in the street, slapping him, spitting on him, laughing at him, and then shaving his mustache in a brutal, gruesome way, and then executing him. That man that you spoke about, he's an 80 years old. He's an innocent man. He's a peaceful sheikh.
So Mansour, right now there's apparently some sort of ceasefire, but we're also hearing reports that there are hundreds who've been murdered in these clashes, and that the Druze population, which is still armed, is supposed to be taking control of the security in their region, meaning in their area, and that the Americans apparently told al-Jawlani to pull all the Syrian forces out of Suwayda and allow the Druze to govern themselves, essentially, in terms of security. What is the situation as we speak right now? Is the fighting completely stopped? And is the Druze community satisfied with this ceasefire, with the current situation? What's the story right now?
There's no ceasefire. These are just talks. They're still killing in the streets. These jihadists are still inside of Suwayda, burning, looting, murdering, raping. Nothing changed. Jawlani, people give him too much credit. First of all, he's a terrorist. Second of all, he doesn't control the country. There's a lot of talks right now from these jihadists that are actually getting upset on him. We might see him assassinated by his own people. You need to understand, when he took the government of Syria, he did not bring the free people of Syria to take over the government. He brought Al-Qaeda, he brought ISIS with him, and on their pickup trucks, they took advantage of the fact that Israel was reordering the Middle East right now by eliminating all the bad guys, and they went and took it. By the way, I've just watched a video that was sent to me by some of my Druze sources showing a Chechnyan soldier, maybe 20, 22, 23 years old, Chechnyan over there. So they have foreign jihadist soldiers, terrorists, coming, flocking from all over the Middle East to come and fight. Jawlani have no control over that situation. Even if he will try to say, he have nothing. He was literally nominated as a puppet on behalf of these jihadists to give them their goal. That was the reason, which is cleanse Syria from anyone that is not Sunnah and radical Sunnah. By the way, thank you, Israel. Thank you, the IDF. Thank you, I'm so proud to be Israeli. I was an officer in the army. I was in the special forces, and I'm so proud of seeing my country stepping up to defend innocent people in the region. But you need to understand, Israel is doing this, yes, because they have a covenant with the Druze, and they feel that they're obliged to their brothers and sisters to help them in the time of need, just like we stood with them in their times of need. They're standing with us. But Israel also understands that the Syrian mountain, the Druze in that area, are a buffer zone. They're a border between these jihadists of Jawlani into Israel. So protecting them is protecting Israel. They're our allies. Further, Israel is finally behaving like a regional power. We never seen that before. like a regional power, meaning that we dictate the rules of this region. We will not allow innocent people to be murdered. We will not allow any of these jihadists to do ethnic cleansing and genocide. We will stand up for the weak, which is something we haven't seen before. That is very, very impressive. Yes.
What you're saying now leads to the obvious next question. What does the Druze community want as an outcome here? Because obviously, based on everything you're saying, it's great if al-Julani's forces pull out and the Israelis have been hitting Syrian regime targets. Unfortunately, the messaging out of the United States of America has not really taken the side of the Druze. They're talking about it like some sort of sectarian violence, and they want to tamp it down because they have all kinds of ideas about how to make peace with this al-Julani guy. So the situation is obviously far from over. What is the outcome the Druze community is actually looking for that they will feel safe?
I think the Druze community, especially right now, after seeing what happened and how they came to completely massacre and annihilate them, are understanding right now that what they want is a Druze autonomy. They don't want to be under these Muslims. They're only killing them. They want to create the southern part of Syria, make it a place that is safe for Christians, for Druze, for minorities, for Alawites, even for the Muslims who are living there. And what they're hoping, if they, in the beginning, they thought that maybe they can still be part of Syria, they're realizing they can't. They want them dead or converted. So what they want right now is some kind of an autonomy. There is people there that are even saying, we want Israel to annex us, take us, have us under you. The safest place in Syria right now are under Jewish-Israeli occupation in the border. That's the Druze villages there. That's the safest place in Syria right now. People are flocking over there. So the Druze, I think, are hoping to have this Druze land, call it, that is going to be in the south area of Syria, that is going to be safe for them, and they're going to be able to defend themselves. Right now, they're completely sieged. They have no one to give them supplies. They're surrounded by Muslims from all over, and Jordan, the border, not opening the border, and they're in a very, very bad situation. And moving forward, I think the Druze have realized that if there was even an imaginary bridge that they can live peacefully in Syria, that bridge has been burned. There's so many Syrians that are just flocking, not only the army, just going and killing and looting. I've seen videos of trucks going away from the Suwayda after they burned and killed, just taking their stuff. They are there as an easy target, not an easy target, but they're there as targets, and they're just at the mercy of the world right now. So I think that is what they're hoping for, but we will see what happens. I mean, they're also very cautious because right now everybody's talking about it. Tomorrow they might forget them, and then they're stuck again with these lunatics.
All right, so Mansour Ashkar, thank you for joining us. We're going to come back to you in the coming days with, for more updates on this situation. But we can only pray that the world wakes up and sees what's actually happening in Syria, and I'm really hoping that the Americans get their heads straight on who this al-Julani guy is, because this whole dog and pony show pretending that he's moderate is costing lives. And with all of the accusations of genocide that have been falsely thrown around against Israel, the real genocide is right where it's been for years and years, which is these ISIS, Al-Qaeda guys committing genocide all across the Middle East. They did it to us on October 7th, and they're doing it to the Druze right now in southern Syria. Our prayers are with you. All I can say is, please pass on to the leadership of the Druze community that the Jewish people, the people of Israel, are 100% behind you, and we're praying for for good to prevail.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, God bless.
God bless.